Hi again, everyone. I'm Stacey Edwards from the Education and Outreach team here at the Seismic Research Center. And with me again is Professor Richie Robertson, based in St. Vincent. Hi, Richie. How are you doing?
Hi, Stacey. Good to be
Good.
here.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So I see you at the Belmont Observatory there. We can't see the volcano. It's under cloud.
Yes, it's a miserable morning, more or less. It's been clear earlier on, but it comes and goes. So right now, the volcano is somewhere in that white mist in the back there.
All right. And what's the latest updates with La Soufrière?
Well, it's continued to do what it has been doing for the last, since it started for the last week and a bit, which is slowly grow a dome, a lava dome, as material oozes out. From what we can see, the growth is still in the same areas, it's getting closer to and in fact starting to touch the southern crater wall, and it's expanding towards the west and a little bit towards the east, and it's growing the same way. Last time that we checked, it was growing at a rate of a little bit over 1.5 cubic meters per second, and its total size, its volume, gotten up to about 1.6 million cubic meters. So it's continuing what we call an effusive eruption, and the effects are mainly confined to the crater and the crater rim, but we're beginning to see some effects of gases further down.
Yes, because we've been seeing some photos and videos and so on. I know you all have made a few visits up to the crater, of course, all within COVID protocols and all within full volcano safety equipment and so forth. And we've been seeing videos and footage showing the effects of some of the gases with burnt vegetation. So of course now people are concerned as to whether or not these gases have any impact on their health.
Yes, and I could understand the concern. If you see the browning, I call it burning of the vegetation, you'd be concerned. Things are going from green to brown. It essentially has to do with the gases are rich in sulfur and oxygen. When you mix that with a little bit of moisture and water, you have a dilute acid, and it's essentially burning vegetation. Now that effect is confined to where the gas plume is. The plume that is coming out as the magma cools, it lets off a lot of gases, and it's very weak, so it's slowly creeping down the mountainside. Currently, I'll say it's just about 1/3 of the top of the rim. It hasn't moved further down yet. In terms of concern to people, that's something that we have to watch, but most of the gases tend to become dilute. So yes, they have acidic properties, and yes, if you really go and stand in the crater and stick your nose in it, that's not a good thing. But by the time they get to occupied areas where people live, they should be dilute enough that they wouldn't be of any great harm. But increasingly, as the volcano populated dome gets to the top, as it pushes more gases down, as the gases get further down slope, the concentrations might get such that people who have asthma and people who have respiratory problems might find some discomfort. So what we have done is that we have recommended that the authorities start monitoring. We'd advise them on that, monitoring the environment, looking at what the concentrations of gases are in currently occupied areas, even though it's not anything above normal. But if they start now, if and when it increases, they'll detect that and then they could take action. That's it.
Okay. One of the questions we've been getting a lot on social media is if this particular event can lead a tsunami, or can lead to a tsunami, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, it probably has to do with the fact that sometimes when volcanoes erupt and when you have big eruptions, and even when they don't have big eruptions, sometimes large mass parts of the volcano itself could fail, and basically either because of an eruption, an explosive eruption often, or because of the fact that you had a big earthquake and there's a lot of loose material. If a large mass of it falls into the ocean, it could push the water and it could generate a tsunami. That kind of scenario, we don't think at the present time at Soufrière is one that is very likely. Of course, all of the volcanoes in the region has had some kind of activity like that. We've had what we call flank collapse. And flank collapse is always something that is possible in the realm of things that any volcano can do. But right now, we don't think where the fact that you have a small dome, it's not beginning to get to the stage where it's pushing too hard against the crater wall. We don't think flank collapse, and therefore the possibility of tsunami being something that is very high. But it is one of the many things that we look at as future possibilities. But right now, no. It can happen, but we don't think it's likely now.
Well, that's reassuring that we don't have to worry about that in the immediate future.
Yeah.
And so we understand, of course, that we're still in the stage of an effusive eruption. Magma is slowly oozing out, building this dome. And again, the question we keep getting all the time is, how quickly can it go from an effusive to an explosive eruption, and will there be enough time for evacuation?
Yeah. I mean, it's a question I have all the time. In fact, I think I was given a briefing to the cabinet, and the prime minister kept asking that question. A difficult one to answer because there's a lot of what we call uncertainty, a lot of things that we don't quite understand. But one of the reasons that we put in all this monitoring, and one of the reasons that we've really looking so closely at the volcano, is that we want to be able to detect any changes that would signify it's moving from the effusive sort of regular pattern to something different. We think that we'll detect changes if we look at it closely. So one of the things that we're looking for is changes in pattern. We expect that if it goes explosive, you have to have a certain kind of gas-rich magma come in, and we think that with the monitoring that we're putting in place, we could detect it. Now, in terms of how much time, again, we will try to give as much time, more than 24 hours, more than 48, longer than that. But there is a possibility that we won't have a lot of time, which is why we have a lot of education telling people that it is possible that they need to prepare for the worst, which is an explosive eruption, but hope for the best, which is, diffusion continuing, probably dying out after a while. And if you do that, if and when it happens, you could take the action necessary.
And so, and it's interesting, sorry, that you should say that, because of course, this eruption, as opposed to the 79 event, is happening against the context of a pandemic of COVID-19. Yes. And so yes, the concerns, of course, of people having to leave their homes during a pandemic, and if there's a risk involved there. I mean, do you want to comment on that?
I guess I see it in this kind of perhaps simplistic way, that when you're dealing with protecting yourself, you deal with the imminent threat. So yes, there is a pandemic, and yes, you have to take certain measures. But if you're living on a volcano and the volcano starts erupting explosively, the imminent threat to yourself, to your life, is the volcano. And the sensible thing to do to protect yourself from death and harm in a serious way is to move off the volcano. And you move off, bearing in mind that you're in a COVID environment, bearing in mind, and I'm sure the authorities who would be managing the movement would consider that. Bearing that in mind, they would ensure that the measures are in place to protect you from that. At the time that it's erupting, or at the time that it becomes a threat of explosion, the biggest threat to you, if you're anywhere in those red zones, is to get off the mountain. And I would advise people that the action will therefore be to listen to the authorities, to get off the mountain and stay away as long as it's harmful. And hopefully it doesn't do so much. You could get back, that within a short time, and the volcano hasn't destroyed too much things, and you have something to get back.
Mm-hmm. And of course, the analogy that we like to draw is that in 1902, we had over 1,500 people losing their lives because they didn't know what was happening. People did not evacuate. And then in 1979, you had no loss of life because everyone evacuated as they were supposed to do.
Yeah. I mean, in 1902, it also had to do with the fact that the people, the way in which the volcano, there wasn't any scientists monitoring the volcano. So there were signs, but people weren't looking at the signs and taking action on signs. That's different. People are looking at the signs now. You have a team here, you have a team in Trinidad, people being supported in Montserrat. You have a lot of people looking at it, trying to figure out what's going on. So that's different. Secondly, the people themselves, when they got the signs, it was different. On the leeward side, you didn't really see you saw a lot happening. If you were on the windward side, you didn't see very much. So the people on the windward side, where the deaths occur, when they actually saw activity, they were trying to move, in a sense, too late. So they didn't get the sign. Mm-hmm. I can't see that kind of scenario playing out now because of communication, because of the fact that you have a group monitoring it, because of the fact that you have plans in place. So if and when you have to move, you just simply, you get the sign that you move, and you move as quickly as you can. But you have to be prepared beforehand. So you have to listen to what Nemo have said, listen to what the authorities have said in terms of preparing for it, and be on the ready. Not to be, panicked and scared and wondering if it's going to be next second. But be on the ready, listen to the authoritative sources of information. And when it is, you just go.
All right. Thanks a lot, Richie, for that. So we're going to wrap up there. Thanks a lot, as usual, for the update. We'll check in with you again next week. And we hope that you and the team will be safe on island. And we encourage our viewers to continue looking at the official sources of information on the La Soufrière eruption, which would be UWI Seismic Research Center and the NEMO in St. Vincent. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.